Good evening, everyone. Thank you so very much for joining us for another episode of Inside the Briefcase of Juris P. Prudence. I am so very excited that you have joined. We are waiting for our special guest, Onika Williams, who will be on in just a moment. So thank you so much for those who've joined. Stay with us because we have an awesome discussion coming your way. We are discussing The Lawyer Who Leads today, and I see Onika is on. So Onika, if you could request to join, and I'm going to bring you right up. And thank you again to everyone who is in the room. So we are going to Onika Williams here. Good evening, Onika. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing so well. Even more excited that you're here. How's everything going this evening?
Everything's great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. I'm so very excited to talk to you about being a lawyer who leads because as long as I've known you, you have been the consummate professional, the consummate leader. You have led in bar associations. You have led in your industry. And so before we get started, I just want to read Onika's very impressive bio. Onika K. Williams, she is of counsel at the law firm of Steptoe and Johnson in their transportation practice in Washington, D.C. She majored in international business, minored in Asian studies at Florida International University in Miami, Florida. After graduating, Onika taught English in Japan through the Japan Exchange and Teaching Program before attending law school at Indiana University Marr School of Law. As a law student, Onika served on the Indiana Law Journal as a notes and comments editor, which is a very prestigious position, and as president of the Feminist Law Forum. She also served as the president of the Asian Pacific American Law Students Association and as Enlightenment Chair of the Black Law Students Association. After graduating, Onika clerked for the Honorable Henry Lee Adams Jr. in the Middle District of Florida and for administrative judges at the United States Nuclear Regulatory Commission. Onika, the way that I know Onika is through bar associations, so I am so excited just to let you know of all of her bar service. Onika served as the 2020 to 21 chair of the National Bar Association Young Lawyers Division, which is also known as NBA-YLD. Under her leadership, NBA-YLD was named 2020 to 2021 NBA Division of the Year, which is a major accomplishment. Onika is a member of the Florida Bar and the Bar of the Supreme Court of the United States, no small feat. Onika was named a 2021 Maynard H. Jackson Award recipient by the National Bar Association, a 2021 Kim M. Keenan Advocacy and Leadership Award recipient by the Washington Bar Association Young Lawyers Division, a 2020 Rising Star Award by the Greater Washington Area Chapter of the Washington Lawyers Division, National Bar Association, also known as GWAC. She was a 2019 Young Lawyer of the Year, named that, given that honor by the WBA-YLD, or the Washington Bar Association Young Lawyers Division. She was a 2019 Nation's Best Advocate, a 40 under 40 honoree by the National Bar Association, and she also received an NBA National Bar Association Presidential Award in 2020 and 21. She's been named as a top 40 under 40 in Washington, D.C. by the National Black Lawyers Association in 2021, 2020, 2019, and 2018. So you can obviously see why I am so very excited to have Miss Onika K. Williams here as our special guest. So thank you again, Onika.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely. So we may have some young lawyers, future lawyers in the audience, and we want to inspire younger lawyers to understand our profession, and we want to inspire young lawyers to potentially join our profession. So can you tell the young lawyers, the possible lawyers, the future lawyers out there who are listening, what you were like as a child?
Well, first I want to say thank you to you and Juris for having me. I am following in the footsteps of Jess. She's won all of those awards and more. So, thank you. And as a child, I definitely was very curious. I loved to read, loved to learn. School was my favorite thing. I basically liked everything but math, and that was just because I wasn't good at it, and I'm still not. So,
well, same here. I was looking at my second grade journals about a week ago and going through everything I was writing, and I totally did not like math. That was absolutely a subject I tried to stay away from. And thankfully, as a lawyer, I don't have to do too much of it. But we do encourage kids to dive deep into math, and that struggle with math as well.
Didn't you also write a little trademark sign as like a 7-year-old?
I did. I had no idea what that even was. I just noticed on all the big brands. So apparently I really liked intellectual property as well. The registered trademark sign is very important to protect your trademark. So I had no idea that I actually was paying attention to that until I went back and read these second grade journals. So kids, you just never know what is going to spark your interest. So make sure you keep journals and write down things that you observe, because one day they will be valuable and insightful for you as an adult. Let me ask you, Onika, what books, you mentioned that you loved reading as a kid. What books did you like reading? Were there any particular authors or series that caught your attention?
So I liked reading basically anything where the person was my age. So, like in middle school, anything where there were like preteen, kids, young kids doing amazing things, or just even if it was, fictional, they were figuring out the world the same way I was. So one book that comes to mind is Dear God, It's Me, Margaret.
Oh my gosh. So love that book.
I love that book. I love anything Judy Blume, and it was just anything that I could get my hands on where there were young people like me who were experiencing what I was experiencing and more. I loved. So, Dear God, It's Me, Margaret is definitely up there on the list.
I agree, and we have Agnes just said she loves to crack open a good book.
Yes.
I think that's one theme that I think all lawyers share, is that we love reading. And I don't know a lawyer that I've met who did not love reading as a child. It is just something, it's a lifelong love. And I think Dear God, It's Me, Margaret really was a coming of age book for girls, and we could see ourselves in her. And that's really what jurisprudence is about. It's letting girls see themselves. And Juris is behind me. I don't know if you can see her, but she's behind me. Hello. She's riding her bike around the city. But we want to be able to see ourselves. I think all kids want to be able to see themselves in literature. And even as adults, we want to be able to see ourselves in literature. And so I will have to go crack open Dear God, It's Me, Margaret, because I totally remember that book was transformative. Thank you for letting me go down memory lane. What women inspired you? I mean, Dear God, It's Me, Margaret has a girl character. Were there any women in your life that particularly inspired you, or that you can really pinpoint as someone who allowed you to come of age as a young girl?
Yeah, so I definitely, all the women in my family, mother, aunts, older cousins, I'm the oldest girl, so, but anyone that came before me, just to see them, get up every day, go to work, or figuring out, how to get to school was very inspirational. And for me, I also, when I was younger, was, and still to this day, just amazed with Harriet Tubman. Anything with Harriet Tubman, any type of book, any type of story, any like TV show, like anything that I can get my hands on that someone so amazing, you know, has walked the earth, but just everything that she did and seeking her freedom and making sure that she went back for others. It just continues to inspire me, and I was just could not get enough of her story when I was younger. So, you know, as an adult, being able to be in DC and go to the National Museum of African American History and Culture, and you know, see items and just be able to be in the same room with anything that she was in. It's just been amazing. But she was definitely inspirational to me, even as a young adult.
I love it. And I think she's one of those just seminal historical figures that you learn about as a child, and you realize just their prominence as you get older and how important they were to us sitting in the seats where we sit as Black women. We would not have been able to do that unless we had the Harriet Tubmans, the Sojourner Truth speaking up for us. And so I love that you bring her up as an inspiring figure, because I think she inspires us all. Let me ask you, as a leader, a young leader, so you were inspired by Harriet Tubman as a young girl. So as a young girl, you were inspired by these monumental historical leaders. What honed your leadership skills as a young girl? You didn't just go from being 5 to now being the Onika Williams, who's a counsel at a major law firm and who's led national bar associations. How did you hone those leadership skills to get you from the point of being 5-year-old Onika to Onika that we see here today?
I think that, so I am a servant leader, which is only a term I learned as an adult. I love helping, so that helps. I do it because I like volunteering. I like helping other people. And so I've been that way since I was a child. I'm not the type of person that, you know, you don't have to attribute, you know, anything to me. As long as we work as a group and we get done what we're supposed to get done, that's what's important to me. And I think as an adult, especially in the space that we're in within bar associations, it's especially important to make sure that you're serving for the right reasons, because these positions at the very least are a year long, if not more. And so it's all fun and games after election, and you're in your first month, or you're throwing parties in your second month. It's the 7th, 8th, and 9th month, the 10th and 11th month, where you have to remember why you're volunteering, why you are in this position, why you ran for this position, why you sought it. And for me, especially with the young lawyer division, opportunities that
Onika, I have lost sound for you. Can you? Okay, I think
can you hear me now?
we have you back now.
Sorry.
Yes.
I think I need to plug in. But
Nope.
for me, especially during the pandemic, being able to connect with other young lawyers from across the country during such a difficult time was very important to me. And so it's basically what got me through the year. It was a difficult year for everyone. And I know that in planning the year, some of the outreach that I did, a lot of what I heard from young lawyers were they were interested in learning about mental health, how to deal with mental health, especially during the pandemic. And it was one of our programmatic areas during my bar year. And so being able to be in the space where I could put on programming that could help on that level, whether it was, doing something social on Zoom so that people could forget, for 45 minutes about what was going on, or bringing programming where people could learn skills to cope with what was going on. That was very important to me, and that is what got me through the pandemic.
Excellent. And you did such an incredible job that bar year. Everything that I've seen you lead and join, you have just been a phenomenal leader. And so my hat goes off to you in that role. My hat continues to go off to you, the leader and attorney that you are. Let me ask you the experiences as a kid that brought you to insight that you have as a leader for national. I mean, you had an unprecedented year with a pandemic. You had no idea that you would get a pandemic the year that you led the National Bar Association's Young Lawyers Division. What types of activities were you involved in as a kid or as a teenager or college student or law student that prepared you to be a leader that could withstand the challenges that you faced as a lawyer, that you faced as a lawyer, that you faced as a leader? Were there any particular experiences that prepared you for those challenges?
I was always the kid that was very like middle of the road. I was not the most popular, I wasn't fortunately like picked on or anything, like just very middle of the road, almost I want to say just I did my own thing and came to school to like learn and like went home. But there were some activities such as like the National Junior Honor Society. I took part in that, and so I was at least as a younger student in middle school and in high school, I participated, but was more in a passive role. And I think that again goes to me being, I guess as an adult, I learned was like servant leadership. So I like to volunteer, but didn't necessarily need to be, president or needing to be on the executive board. And some of that came as we grew older and I had these opportunities in DC. I realized that sometimes you can be in a leadership position and still serve. And so I learned that, through the pandemic, but I really learned that coming here to DC, where we're getting these volunteer opportunities is like winning the lottery. And so when I did have the opportunity to serve in leadership positions in DC, I took it to heart. And you saw the evolution, at least for me, from like little 11-year-old Onika who didn't mind staying after school to like help out, to, me as a young lawyer in DC, where I may not necessarily be, chair of an organization or president of an organization, but I like to volunteer. I like to help people. I like to work, and that's very valuable here in DC, being able to find good volunteers who aren't what we refer to as resume collectors. So
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's those servant leaders, the people who are on the ground, who are out there, who are actually doing, who are putting the time in. Those are the servants that we need as a world, but particularly in DC, really wherever you are, it's those people who are out there on the ground serving that are transformative. So again, my hat is off to you because you walk the walk and talk the talk as well. So thank you. Let me also ask you, your practice, let's go into you as an attorney, the attorney Onika. We talked about the evolution, the little girl who's 11, who's staying after school, she's helping, she's on the Junior Honor Society. You go to college in Florida, you then go to law school in Indiana, and then you come to DC. So you started in government and you have a transportation practice. What does that look like? What do lawyers in your field do?
Sure. So I will say I'm a first generation college student. I'm first to graduate in my immediate family. And so first to go on to law school. I actually applied to law school while living in Japan, as you mentioned. So I took the LSAT in Tokyo, returned to the States to go to law school in Indiana. And while in law school, I didn't do the greatest. I'm not the best test taker, but I read and write well. So I was able to find my niche in law school and figure it out. But I had the opportunity to do a federal clerkship in Jacksonville, Florida, which is where my public service began. I basically applied to law school knowing that I wanted to work in the government. And so I had the opportunity to do this federal clerkship in Florida after being told, due to grades that I wouldn't likely be chosen for one. So I had that opportunity and then made my way to DC, where I continued to serve in the executive branch of the government. And so went to the Nuclear Regulatory Commission and did energy work. I did not take administrative law in school, didn't take any regulatory classes. So these are positions that I did not even know existed. I knew that I was interested in interpreting laws. I like to research, I like to write, and this was basically right up my alley, an offshoot of clerking, doing a federal clerkship, and working for administrative judges at the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. Was there for 2 years, and then went to the Surface Transportation Board, which is the economic regulator of the railroads. Again, now I'm doing transportation work and doing administrative law. Didn't take administrative law in school, so I'm learning by fire here. And so just really interesting topics, and an intersection of law. You have administrative law, of course, like I've mentioned, but there's like some constitutional law. You can have preemption issues, and you're working in these spaces where you're working for the regulator, which is not something that we normally think of when we think of law school. We think of people like you who go to court and, take depositions and file things. And then in DC, there's a whole sector of attorneys that never go to court, like me. And so, and they work for the regulators. And so these are the jobs that I ended up doing here in DC, and basically built a regulatory practice. And so now I'm actually in private practice, and I still do transportation work and appear before the agency that I came from. So it's been really interesting for me. It's been full circle, where working in the federal judiciary and learning about these different areas of law, to going to the regulator, now practicing before the regulator. And so learning all these different facets of law. And that's basically what I do. I do transportation work, rail work, and it's been super interesting. Again, an area of law that if you had asked me, even as a 3L, I did not know existed. So.
Totally understandable. I'm an employment lawyer and had no real idea what employment lawyers did on a day-to-day basis before actually just jumping in and doing it as a practicing attorney. And from what I heard from your story, your career story, is that you've had a lot of resilience. You have been able to learn things quickly. So from the federal judiciary saying, you weren't going to get a clerkship because of grades, but you got one. And I think that takes the level of resilience that lawyers have to have. We have to have tenacity. We have to have resilience. And you've clearly displayed it throughout your career. I think it's so cool just to understand that not all lawyers go to court. We're not always, taking depositions. I think it's so important for people to see just the diversity of lawyers. There are agencies. I had no idea. I did not take administrative law either. So I had that there were these administrative lawyers who were making regulations and who were interpreting regulations. And I think your explanation about what regulatory attorneys do was one of the best explanations that I've heard, because even now I'm like, okay, well, what's going on? But I know that you're behind the scenes. You are doing the work that's really, it's creating policy, enforcing policy that we all use every day. So thank you very much for explaining to our audience what your practice looks like, because I think it's so important that kids know that not all lawyers, if you don't want to go to court, there are places for you in the law. There are transactional practices, there are regulatory practices, and you're now in big law, corporate law, and so now that's a totally different side of the equation, which is really awesome just to see that you've done it all.
Yeah.
Let me close out by asking you this question. If you were giving advice to your 11-year-old self, what would that advice be? If you were just writing her a letter, if you were having a conversation, what would you tell 11-year-old Onika?
I think I would tell 11-year-old Onika, you probably have had enough candy for the day, but also it's, in general, it's going to be okay. I find that it's so funny to me when you see a little kid that's like 1 or 2 years old, and it's very clear that they're just short versions of themselves. Like they're just very small adults, and I think that, and you see exactly how they're going to be in 30 years. Like it's the same way, just taller. And I feel like I was that same way. Very much a worrier, even as a kid. And going, if I could go back and tell myself, like, it's okay. Like, it's okay you got that question out of 20 questions wrong. Like, it's okay if you go to sleep, and you know, you don't have to read that page again for your test tomorrow. And so it's interesting to me that basically the same issues that I deal with as an adult, where I'm remembering, it's okay to rest. It's okay to take a break. It's okay to watch, a movie, this evening, instead of doing an additional 2 hours of work. And I would tell myself, it's okay. It's going to be okay. You're going to graduate. You're going to get a job. Like, it's going to be okay. And I hope everyone who is watching and all of the young aspiring lawyers also know that it's going to be okay. You'll make it. Law school can be difficult, especially, the grading system at many of the schools. But at the end of the day, we made it, and you're going to be okay.
That is superb advice. As lawyers, we worry because we solve problems, and we have problems that are novel problems to solve. These are, working in a big law firm, working in the government, you are tasked with solving issues that are not always clear, and that's why you're the one solving them. And so I think that being in those spaces, it's so important to remember that you're supposed to be there. You've earned your spot. It is going to be indeed okay. And I think, Onika, you are a testament to that. I am very fortunate that I am also a testament to that. And I also still have to remember it's going to be okay, because it just is going to be okay. So thank you very much for just articulating that just so well, and for giving that to our audience to take away today. Audience members, thank you so much. Before I let you, Onika, go, I want to ask you, what are you working on that's exciting you right now, that's inspiring you?
Sure. So I am actually, now that I'm in this space of transportation, I'm interested in finding a way to create a space for young transportation professionals of color. And so that is like my passion project. That's what I'm working on. I'm hoping to meld basically what we've done with the Young Lawyers divisions and the space of transportation infrastructure, in hopes to make connections. There's so many of our colleagues that work in transportation, and of our culture, there's been such a rich culture of transportation within the African American community. And so to be able to marry those and meld those together is something that I'm interested in, and I'm hoping, to be able to work on. So that's my next personal project.
I love it, love it, love it. I know it's going to be wildly successful. So thank you very much for your vision there. please let us know, how can we keep up with you? If we want to follow you, are there any Instagram handles or LinkedIn handles that you want to share?
Sure. So you can follow me here on Instagram. I am at Squeaky Wheel, Squeakie Wheel. On LinkedIn, Onika K. Williams. And so feel free to reach out to me. I would love to stay connected. And I also have to give a shout out to Juris. Juris P. Prudence, some of you may know, is the National Bar Association Young Lawyers Division honorary member, and she is our youngest member. And so I think she may be our only honorary member, and she became an honorary member last year with Jess leading the way. So I just want to say, just thank you so much for creating this platform for little kids and big kids alike like me. Juris and you are such inspirations. I wish that, I had something similar as a kid, where I was able to connect to a character like Juris to show me that everything's going to be okay, even though she's an 11-year-old attorney, and that probably would have given me some but just being so inspirational in all of the quests that she goes on and problem solving that she does. As a big kid, Juris is very, very inspirational to me. So
thank you so much. I very much appreciate those words, those kind words, and that is when I don't know if Juris is able to get her camera angle in right now. But that is what she is supposed to be. She is supposed to inspire. And when I'm writing, sometimes I'm writing a letter to myself about what it looks like to have justice in the world, and what bravery looks like, what courageousness in our profession looks like. And Juris teaches me as well. So I very much appreciate your support of Juris P. Prudence for making her an honorary member of the National Bar Association Division, the youngest lawyer. But we hope that we have so many real life lawyers who will follow in Juris's footsteps, of course, in your footsteps, in my footsteps. That's what it's all about. So thank you very much for sharing your experience this evening. I know that you were very busy, so I just appreciate the time that you've taken out of your schedule to share with us today, and for all of the service that you do in the DC community and nationally.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Thank you. Enjoy your weekend, and I hope to see you soon.
Yes. We have to get together.
We will. I'm going to send you a text.
Okay.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Please come back again. We will have more inspiring guests just like Onika later this summer. So thank you for your time this evening and your attention. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Have a great one, everyone.